Hi, hello, namaste.
We are Radhika and Rohit, and we are here with an exciting episode of TEJAS, the podcast series and an initiative by NSBT, wherein we bring you the entrepreneurial journeys of Aurangabad, that is a beloved Sambhajinagar. So today we have a very interesting story with us, wherein a 60-year-old man, at the age where most of the people think of retiring, laid the foundation of a big empire. His son followed in his footsteps and wrote the amazing stories of mergers, acquisitions, and exit. Let's welcome the storyteller and the action man of the Bagla group, Mr. Rishi Bagla.
Thank you very much.
It's so honoring for us to welcome you to our podcast series, sir. So let's start. You hail from Kolkata. You had a textile business there. But then how did your roots grow in Aurangabad, that too in automotive sector with Aurangabad Electricals?
So first of all, let me congratulate NSBT and TEJAS for doing this kind of a super initiative. And this would really mean a lot to the future of the city, because people will always remember the journey of various industrialists and others, how the city has grown. So we were from Calcutta, a joint family. Bagla family was a joint family of 3 brothers. That was my father and his 2 brothers. And of course, he had his cousins with them also. But along the way, as we all know, that families part ways. In the year 1984, my father was running a laminated jute bag factory supplying to the fertilizer industry largely. And there was a strike in the so-called strike in the jute industry.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we thought that we will keep a lot of stock of the jute in our factory so that we can make the bags without any difficulty during the strike period. Mm-hmm. In those days, the jute mills used to have a strike, then all the jute mills used to close altogether. It was a complete unionized industry-wide strike.
Wow.
So if we did not keep the stock, we would have had no option. So we had kept a lot of stock. Unfortunately, on 21st January 1984, there was a big fire in the factory. And jute being a product which is highly inflammable, everything was turned to ashes.
My God.
And at that point of time, even my family, which was engaged in the business of tea cultivation and tea garden and other businesses, decided that let's part ways. And at that point of time, our family, my uncle got the tea garden and my other uncle got some other businesses. But since the jute bag factory had caught fire, we had no business at that time. And that was the time when Bajaj Auto was starting the factory in Aurangabad. And we got the opportunity to discuss with them the possibility of setting up an ancillary for them. And that's when, as a family, we took a decision that we will set up a factory to manufacture magnetos for the two-wheelers. Magneto is like a dynamo, the movement of which provides the power to a vehicle, the heart, as we may call it, of a vehicle. And we decided to make the magnetos for Bajaj Auto. And it's a very interesting story. When my father met Mr. Rahul Bajaj, as my father tells me, he was, of course, 60 years old at that time, and Rahul ji was much younger. He asked my father, "Tumko magneto kuch samajhta hai?" He said, "Nahi." They said, "Tum kar lega, don't worry, set up."
Wow.
And that's how we got the permission from Bajaj Auto to set up the plant for making magnetos. Mm-hmm. That was the beginning of the journey. In the year 1986, when my father started the manufacture of magnetos for the then Chetaks and Priyas, the scooters of Bajaj Auto.
Wow, such an amazing story, sir. And at the start, we said that a 60-year-old started this. Rather, we should say that 60-year young
Young man.
young guy started this. Oh, you did.
Young man started it.
Because this is truly commendable. I mean, not just starting something, but starting at a different base and setting up a base here, getting homologated with a different city, and then you getting into his footsteps, taking it further and further and further is an amazing story. So now,
The whole family always had those business genes in them, I think.
absolutely.
Hence, even though you had a setback in Kolkata, you came back in Aurangabad and anchored so well that you are here again.
So the story goes like this, that my father, when he came to Aurangabad at the age of 60, he was not an engineer. By profession, he was just, by education, he was just an intermediate pass. And by profession, he was into manufacturing a tailor shop, because we were buying cloth,
Right.
and we were doing the stitching and making the bags and supplying. So,
True.
so his experience as such was tailor shop. Now, of course, at one point of time, he was the very well advisor to the American Express, and that would mean that most of the loans that American Express would give in India would be under his advice as well.
Wow.
So his basic experience was banking. His basic experience was making of jute bags. But when he came to Aurangabad, or I should say Maharashtra, the business was to make a highly technical product called the magneto.
Right.
So he personally worked with his own hands
Wow.
in the factory of Bajaj Auto to understand what the product is.
Amazing.
And what is really interesting, while setting up the project, we had to buy some lathe. And there was a company called Mysore Kirloskar. And he visited the factory of Mysore Kirloskar at that time to discuss with them how he could reduce the cost of lathe, which would be perfect for us. And with their engineers, he developed a lathe which was at 50% the cost of a normal lathe
50%.
at that time. And that was how Aurangabad Electricals was set up. And incidentally, I forgot to mention that Mysore Kirloskar gave him a certificate of a certified design engineer of a lathe.
Wow. Amazing.
So, I mean, diverse background and absolutely nothing to do with what he was wanting to do in Aurangabad, but yet with his common sense. And he always used to say, engineering is about common sense. And that's largely about it. And he used his common sense very often. He was very intelligent. And that's how, at a very meager amount, I mean, I remember very well, while setting up the plant, we were sanctioned 2 acres of land by MIDC. And we didn't have the money to sustain that. So we gave up 1 acre of land to buy a few Mysore Kirloskar lathes. And that's the beginning of the Aurangabad Electrical story, or the Bagla Group story in Aurangabad. That is the real beginning of the first plant that was set up by my father when he was actually physically 60 years old, very enthusiastic, very young, and a big fire in the belly to prove that he can do something in life.
Age is just a number. That is
Absolutely.
best thing.
Yeah, and
Which can be said in talk.
what better example can be
Yeah,
there
exactly.
than him?
So that's how was the beginning. And the story started from there. I was in Calcutta, and with the partition money, he gave me most of the money, and he came to Aurangabad with 5 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And I started a factory in Raipur doing the same business of making laminated jute bags.
And sir, this must be the period when?
1986 to 1989.
My God.
Okay.
So I set up the plant in Raipur for making laminated jute bags, and he came over here. In 1989, the situation was that I lost all the money and I had liabilities to pay. And with his money, what he did was pay off all my liabilities,
Okay.
whatever profit he made, whatever earnings he did, over a period of time, we paid off all the liabilities that I had created in Aurangabad, in Raipur, and we also sold our home in Calcutta to repay the liabilities. And fortunately, we could meet all our commitments, and Raipur was a closed chapter. And one day he said, "You now come to Aurangabad." And therefore, in June 1989, almost about 3.5 years after he had shifted to Aurangabad, I moved into Aurangabad with him. And that was the journey where we started working together.
Wow, what a story. And now I'll take this chance, and I would also like to clear an air of confusion which most people have. You might not be knowing this, or you might be knowing this, because whenever we go to industrial area, we see various verticals. They are different, quite different from each other. But the common thread in between all of them is that either in prefix or suffix, Bagla name is there.
Yeah.
For example, BG Lane, Bagla Automotive, then Aurangabad Electricals, of course, which is well known that it is put up by Bagla family. And then there are many other companies. OMR Bagla is one of them. So everybody used to think, I mean, people who newly entered the MIDC, they used to think that, okay, so this vertical is different, this vertical is different. These might be different families who are heading them. Today, I want to clear that it is all headed by one single family, which has taken this to a mammoth level. And sir, taking this chance, I also wanted to ask you, all these are quite different from each other. Electricals, and then even automotive, even though they belong to same automotive family, the nature of business is different. How have you managed that? Because there is a lot of backstory behind that, which takes you, which talks about inorganic as well as organic growth together. So how did really you manage this? Because it's not easy. एक काम करने में जिंदगी निकल जाती है, but again 7-8 अलग-अलग तरीके के काम you are just doing very, beautifully.
See, the first principle of business that has to be understood, if we go back to our college, we are taught ownership and management have to be delinked. If we think that this is my business, that means I'm linking the two. I, as an investor, always have to be the owner and restrict my role to that. And I, as a professional, have to restrict my role to the management.
Very true.
The moment I'm able to restrict the two, define or sort of differentiate between the two, life becomes very easy. Because then what I say is possessiveness does not come into business.
Absolutely.
And if you're not possessive about anything, then you're not thinking emotionally. You are thinking rationally. When you are possessive, then things become emotional. So the moment you become not attached to a particular thing, you start looking at ways what is best for the company. And you don't start saying what is best for me. And the moment you start saying what is best for the company, you don't mind diluting equity, you don't mind growing the business, you don't mind taking risks. The moment, as long as you become possessive, you become risk averse. You become this is mine, I can't let anybody in. And the moment you are dispassionate, you say, no, this is best for. So it's like a child. If you hold on to the child will never grow. But if you let the child, catch the finger of the child, make it grow, during adolescence age, you provide them with the right guidance, but then let them fly. That is how the businesses are. when you incubate a business, you have to start holding the hand. You have to give the right direction to the company and then put in professional management to let it grow. And that has been the fundamental principle of our family.
Wow. I'm sure, sir, this is such a guiding light for entrepreneurs who are newly coming into, or even those who are well established. Because often, this thing that you mentioned, that you need to be practical and rational rather than being emotional, is something that ensures the growth further, not just for the individual, but also for that whole organization. Sir, iska hi dhaga pakad ke, we wanted to also ask you that acquisition of Aurangabad Electricals by CI is till date, I mean, so many years passed by, but it is still the most talked about thing in the city, not just city, maybe in state. So keeping this emotional attachment separate and taking decisions rationally at such a big level. So what is your message? How one can really inculcate this principle, and what was also running behind your mind behind this?
तो जैसे मैंने आपको कहा कि you have to think dispassionately, you have to handhold the child and give them the best guidance and direction, and then let it fly. So, what does a father do with his daughter? He always looks for a better set of parents.
Absolutely.
And hands over the daughter
True.
to that set of parents. And that is what I did in ECI.
Wow. Interesting way to look at it, sir.
But you will always have that emotion attached, no, with that.
See, I'll tell you what. As long as the parents are emotionally attached to the child after she is married, is only to a little extent correct. Otherwise, they will interfere in their life and their life will be spoiled.
Yeah.
Same thing happens in the business. It's no different. I have no connections or emotional attachment with Aurangabad Electricals, but of course, I'm there to guide them whenever they need, and that's my commitment to the Spanish company, and that's my commitment to the Italian company. Though I've sold my shares in Fontana, but Mr. Fontana will always come and meet me, always discuss with me. And so is my commitment to all the businesses that I have sold or bought. There's no difference. The relationship continues. What you have done is, you have sold the business or you have bought the business. The relationship continues. That does not end. So the bond after a while has to be there, undoubtedly, but that of a guide and a benefactor.
I think the practicality quotient in your sense is very high, because as you say, you're not attached to the company, but you are in relation with the company. So your friendship as well as a relationship beyond friendship is very strong, where even if you
And
sold,
that is the reason why my father's photo is still there as the founder, despite the
Wow.
fact that we have sold the equity.
Wow.
this is a good example
Absolutely.
of how relationships can go beyond business. So nice.
That's great. And we also were discussing about team building, right, here, because it is very important. I mean,
Team building in this, we were actually discussing that you have so many verticals and they are very different from each other. And for each vertical to work that successfully, you need the right bunch of people together with you. The right people at the right time, but you need to nurture them that well also. They need to be that motivated that this is your company, you need to lead it. So what is your secret recipe of team building?
See, it is very simple. I will explain to you this thing. Few things happened in my life that changed my perspective of business completely. One of the things that happened was, one day, I was absolutely hands-on, as we all are at some point of time. One day I went for a night visit to my factory, just to see what's happening.
okay.
As expected, the factory was closed. Nothing was happening. The watchman with the shutters down was sleeping as always. That's not something which is uncommon. You'll always find that. But looking at him, suddenly a flash dawned in my mind that my entire material worth crores of rupees is dependent on this watchman who is sleeping.
Absolutely.
And I'm not giving authority to the much higher paid, much more educated people who have hardly got any authority. So I said, look at my stupidity. Look at my trust or mistrust. Trust because I'm not seeing, trust because I'm not seeing it, the watchman every day. And mistrust on the people because I'm seeing them every day.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
And most people don't realize that. That day onwards, I stopped signing checks in my company. And I still don't sign. It's almost about 25 years.
Wow.
I don't sign any check in the company. It's all professionally. Systems are made and checks and balances are there. People have to do their work. So the most important thing in team building is trust, belief. Put your systems in place, checks and balances. You could also make mistakes. Generally what happens is entrepreneurs think that the people have made mistakes and it's not their problem. But actually, it is the problem of the entrepreneur because he has not trusted them. And he has not realized that even he could have made that mistake. What's the big deal? You make mistakes, you learn. Trust is the biggest factor that makes the team grow. And that is what we give in the Bagla Group. Power or authority and trust. And we find that people are committed and motivated to do their work. My role is extremely limited in the businesses. So as we said that ownership and management has to be delinked, we have found the right people to manage our businesses and they manage our businesses. I don't manage the business. I remain the owner and I guide them, I handhold them, I take them to the next level. If they have an issue, I'm around. But then for days, I don't receive a call. For months, I don't speak to them. As this topic of this was learned to me from Mr. R.P. Goenka.
Okay.
When R.P. Goenka visited Aurangabad once, my father is related to him. They are cousins.
I see.
So he asked Mr. Goenka, come, I will take you to my factory. Please have a look. He said, I have not visited my factory. Where will I visit your factory? That is the sign of true entrepreneurship.
True.
Where you believe that the best person on the job has to be sitting on the chair.
Absolutely.
And it's not necessarily that you are the best person for the job.
Wow. Wonderful. Sir, और एक चीज आपसे पूछनी थी. So, in any business, one of the most fear aspect is competition. And the other day we were talking and you had told me about how Milkha Singh is inspiring for you and how really it changed your perspective to look at the competition. Sir, मुझे वो एक I also would love if at all you can take that story to viewers with another angle because there are so many JVs that you have done. There is OMR Bagla, then there is BG Lin, then the JV with Fontana, your BG fastening company tied up with them. And here usually this joint venture or acquisitions, these kind of things, ये ऐसा लगता है कि ये कभी होगी या नहीं या this is a dream for many of the things and you have done it so elegantly, so beautifully and so quickly. So ये कैसे हुआ sir? We would really love if you can delve into those stories.
पहले मैं आपको मिल्खा सिंह वाली बात जो आपने पूछी वो बताता हूँ. I was watching a movie Milkha Singh and I was enjoying the story with the family and suddenly something clicked in my head and I truly believe that life-changing moments only come in that clicks of a moment.
Right.
And this was one of the life-changing moments for me, one of the many. I was seeing the movie where in the Olympics Milkha Singh was running and he was coming first. He was ahead of all his competitors. That's when he made the mistake of looking back to see where his competition was, and 3 people overtook him and we lost the medal. This is the story. What I learned from this, that in life competition is from within. As long as Milkha Singh was running his race and he was competing against his time, he was leading the pack. The moment he got defocused with where the competition was, what they were doing, we should learn from the competition, but we should not get defocused from our objective.
Absolutely.
And if that is what I learned from the story of Milkha Singh. And thereafter, many people told me about so many things. But in our group, we knew that what our focus was. And honestly, our focus was simply put, which is put in our group vision, to provide delight to all stakeholders. And we defined the stakeholders, which is basically the customer, the vendors, the employees, the government, and the society. You have to observe that we have not said that you have to delight, provide to shareholders.
Yes.
That is because if all these 5 people are delighted, shareholders is a result.
Absolutely.
And they will automatically be delighted.
Very true, sir.
So this is what came out from that story of Milkha Singh, from that spur of the moment.
Wow.
As to what should be the purpose of life and what should be the purpose of our business and what should be our focus. So our focus in business was to provide delight to all the stakeholders. And we have relentlessly tried to work on that. And that is one of the reasons why all our joint ventures were so easy.
Wow.
The stories behind the joint ventures are very, very interesting. Each joint venture has a movie-like story. It's not, as you said very rightly, that joint ventures just don't happen.
Yeah.
Each joint venture was a story. But when people visited the factories, when people met the people who were running the businesses, when people saw the level of corporate governance that we were following, they were enamored and they chose us. So the main thing about any joint venture in life is about being honest, being truthful, and very clearly providing delight to all stakeholders.
True.
And that, once you are there, everybody will be attracted towards you like a magnet. Whether it is a business partner, whether it is a customer, whether it is a vendor, employee, government, society, everywhere. And that is what made all our joint ventures. Now, typically, I'll give you an example. When we had a PA agreement with a company called TEJAS Electric, making magnetos. So one time when we were visiting TEJAS, we landed at the airport and we saw another person holding the card by our name,
Okay.
Mr. Bagla. Both my father and I, we were both visiting. So, of course, the TEJAS guy was there to receive us, and so was the other guy. My father, being the adventurous person, he chose to go with the other person. So we went to his factory.
But you didn't know who the other guy
No,
was.
we
Wow.
did not know. We had no idea who that
Wow.
person was.
You went for TEJAS, but there was someone else
Also standing there.
Okay.
So we went to his factory, and the guy who came to receive us did not know English, and he just said, "My boss wants to meet you."
Okay.
So It's intriguing. I mean, the level of trust that my father had on people, and obviously, you can imagine what was it all about. It looks like a film. It could have gone wrong. We would have said how stupid. It went right, so we are saying wow. so,
You guys were adventurous.
yes, he was very adventurous. So we went to his factory, and there was a person around 50 standing over there at the gate. He shook hands of my father. He also could not speak any English. And he said, he just spoke in broken English. Bagla, welcome, my factory, joint venture India. Confusing. I mean, what was he trying to say? Bagla, my factory, welcome, joint venture India. So he said, come. And he showed us the ground floor of the factory. And he, in his broken English, said, I want to invest in India and I want to come with a joint venture for my products and I want to come with you. So by the time we climbed the 2 floors to reach the top floor, my father and he had shook hands for the joint venture 50-50 to be set up in India.
Wow.
Now, people will not believe that joint ventures can happen like this.
Absolutely.
But it did happen. The principle of the joint venture was finalized within that 2 floors up.
Wow.
That is when he showed, this is what I make and this is what we'll sell to Bajaj Auto.
Oh.
Wow.
And that's when we saw the finished product.
Oh.
And then we said, okay, let's start working. And that was the beginning of BG Lean, starting with a 50-50 joint venture. And now, of course, my partner has become very old and he decided to exit the business. Now BG Lean is owned 100% by our family. But this is how the joint venture started.
Amazing.
Similarly, in the case of OMR, it was a very interesting story. The background I will try to cut off because that's a very long story, but I explained to you. Mr. Bonometti, the owner of OMR, is one of the largest auto component business of Italy. Okay. Very well established, very well known. Global supplier with factories based out of Brazil, America, Morocco, and of course Italy and China. He was scouting for a partner in India. And my father enters his room. They sit down opposite each other. And Mr. Bonometti says, he also can't speak English well. So he says, Mr. Bagla, how much? That's his way of putting it. Mr. Bagla, how much? And he had a paper in his hand. Of course, the details of the factory were sent to him earlier. He had a paper in his hand. And my father said, this much. And he showed the paper to my father. Same figure.
Wow.
Oh.
And the principles of joint venture were signed in half an hour. It's principles of joint venture. It took the joint venture about a year to formalize, but the basic principle was put up on a piece of ordinary paper. That was the fundamental joint venture agreement that was put up in that agreement. 1st January 2008, this joint venture was started. So one of the plants of Aurangabad Electricals was carved out to become OMR Bagla.
Okay.
Wow. So this is really very, very cinematic.
So yeah, it's all stories are very cinematic. Even with Mr. Fontana, as you mentioned,
Yes.
Even with Mr. Fontana, the story is very interesting. So we were having this fastener factory, and Mr. Fontana and we were having discussions across the table. His lawyer was sitting on one side, my lawyer was sitting on one side, and the lawyers were like keeping on fighting with each other. We were not going through. So at one point of time, I got very angry, and I asked the lawyer of Mr. Fontana to get out of the room.
Wow.
And Mr. Fontana told my lawyer, you get out of the room. And both the lawyers were thrown out of the room, and we said, no agreement, we are going back to the hotel.
Okay.
We came back to the hotel, and we were sitting in the lounge upstairs. It so happened that we both had the lounge facility.
Right.
We went to the lounge. We were both sitting in the lounge. And Mr. Bagla and Mr. Fontana said, Mr. Bagla, of course we want to do the business. I said, yes, Mr. Fontana, of course. Otherwise, why are we meeting? These lawyers can't do it. Let's keep them out. Let's do it us. And that was the beginning of the Fontana.
Amazing,
partnership.
amazing, sir.
So this is how relationships and partnerships happen
Right.
when your intent is good, when your processes are right, and people are excited to join hands with you only when they see that you are a person with integrity. So
Very
the
right.
first foremost thing is to get your house clean, to get yourself clean, to get your heart clean, to get your mind clean. Then joint ventures will happen.
Wow. Sir, I must tell you that I don't think any MBA colleges would tell this, but what I could took out from the story is that trust is the most important
Trust
factor.
is the most, like, I have a very simple policy. See, there was a joint venture that we had in China, and we were not having, it was just going on talk for last 1 year.
Right.
My people were insisting on certain things, and the partner was insisting on certain things. So it just so happened that once my people said, why don't you come? So I went to China
Okay.
for other businesses also, and I went in that meeting. So this guy said, you have come, Mr. Bagla, please understand, the entire finance of the company will be managed by us. I'll have a financial controller. I said, of course, you should have a financial controller. It's your money.
True.
You should have a financial controller. He was like shocked. We have been fighting on this for last 1 year, and in 1 minute he has given me what I wanted.
My God.
And the joint venture happened.
Wow.
So the point is, one has to understand, trust, belief on the other person also.
Right.
And that is, and we have always believed that those people sitting so far away have to have the comfort that they are managing the business.
Very true.
There will never be a problem in a relationship.
Basically, putting trust into someone gives them the confidence that this will be successful ahead.
Correct. And they will put in their best.
Absolutely.
And as simple. Why should I work on something where somebody else is earning for me?
Very true. Very true, sir.
So I'm happy. Somebody else is working for me. They are happy. So where is the problem? So I don't step unnecessarily into the shoes of my partners unless I find something wrong is happening.
Absolute. Absolutely.
And that is the kind of business relationship I have with all my joint venture partners.
Wow.
I think putting trust in these joint ventures, your partners, as well as putting trust in the employees, it is the same thing, because
Yeah.
it gives them that confidence that this is going to work.
See, basically nobody can take your bhagya,
Ji.
right? And you have to trust. If you have to trust and believe that the world is belonging to honest people. You can't be foolish. You have to put your checks and balance. But you can't be not trusting people with whom you are going to do business.
Wow. Such complex problem and such simple solution for the same.
So this is what I learned from Rajiv Bajaj. Somewhere I read him, or I read or heard, or he told me, I don't remember, that if you have large complex issues, convert them into small problems and start removing each one of them till you'll reach to a point where the problem will become, large problem will become very small.
True.
And then you can remove it, and then the problem will no longer be there. Otherwise, the problem looks large, and if you want to solve the larger problem, it becomes very difficult.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They're lost.
You're lost in that. So these are lessons that you learn from people. Rajiv Bajaj and Mr. Pradeep Dhoot are two people who have been very helpful to me in my life in guiding the various things that I do today.
Amazing stories you have, sir. And one more thing which we also wanted to ask you. So now recently you have undertaken the responsibility of being the CII Vice Chair for the Western region. And many congratulations for that. I think the industry is really in safest of the hands, I must say.
Yeah.
Sir, I know there are some backstories related to CII formation that you have. And in addition to that, we would also like to know what are the challenges, especially related to economical development of the region that you see.
See, firstly, let me put it like this, that the Western region is the most happening region in India. The economy is largest in this part. The contribution to the economy is largest from this part of the country. Gujarat and Maharashtra being a very, very dominant, playing a very dominant role. If we look at it this way, that the largest number of FDI in the country comes into Maharashtra.
True.
And the largest exporter in the country is from Gujarat.
Absolutely.
Largest number of ports in India is in Maharashtra, and the second largest number of ports in India is in Gujarat.
Twin states.
So now these two states form a very formidable combination for the country. Important is that if India has to dream to become one of the largest economies in the world by 2047, we will have to be a very large economy, almost 7 times to 8 times or even more than where we are today. That means 8 times of everything more at least. Now, there are 3 groups of people who are involved in this. One is the politicians, other is the bureaucracy, and third is the society. All 3 have to come together to create this into a successful subject, that India becomes one of the largest economy in the world.
Right.
Government has to have a lot of policies. They have to understand the pain of the industry. And the industry has to understand the limitations of the government. Once these 2 things are properly understood, I'm sure that lot of issues will get resolved and we will be able to come up strongly. Some of the issues that CI is going to take up is of course going to be ease of doing business, ease of living, cost of doing business, and environmental issues, amongst other things. Because we always keep talking of ease of doing business, but very fundamental and important topic is also about ease of living. So, because unless there is an ease of living, the purpose of society is lost.
Absolutely.
So we need to create that kind of initiatives in the Western region to bring the society together, to bring the people together, and to take initiatives which will help society, bureaucrats and politicians to achieve a common goal of making India the largest economy in the world.
Wow, very thought-provoking. So far it has been exhilarating, right? Knowing such great stories from Bagla sir. Now there is another feather in the cap that we wanted to talk about, because Bagla Group is many things. It's industry, it's automation, it's many products inside automotive and other industries. But it is also one more thing, which is the main event that we wanted to bring in front of you. Their social reforms or the social initiatives, those are being taken. Now, And for that, we would really love to welcome the leading lady of the house, the final boss of the house, Mamta ma'am. Ma'am, welcome to our podcast. It's a great pleasure that we have both of you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here. I'm privileged to be here.
Our
So
pleasure.
good to see you together. Okay, so the final question to the final boss of the house. So we know that you and Sudha Bajaj ma'am have brought the Udayan Care chapter to Aurangabad. It is so endearing to see that so many girls are a part of the Udayan Shalini Fellowship here, which you run in the vicinity of the house. They are learning so much to lead a better life now. We would love to hear your journey, how it all came together here in Aurangabad.
So, I'm a mother of 2 daughters. So, a girl child is always very special to me.
Very true.
Definitely.
And I got this opportunity when I was in Delhi. Udyan Care Home run by my sister, Kiran Modi. I wanted to visit her. She told me the best place to visit me is to come to Udyan Care Home.
Okay.
And I was a youngster at that point. And then when I went, I saw there were children in that home. And I just happened to sit with them on the steps, and I was interacting with them, and she introduced, this is your Masi. And we started gelling very well. And that's when my sister told me that I want you to open a Udyan Shalini project in Aurangabad.
Okay.
And let me just button for a moment. All those children were street children picked up by her, who were street children girls picked up by her, who were probably begging or who had no parents, who were on the streets, picked up and put into Udyan Care Home.
Amazing. Amazing.
With the help of government, with totally legally taking them under her shelter, and then she provided mothers and fathers for them, and they used to be with the children in that home.
Okay.
Who really wanted to spend their time with them. They were appointed as their caretakers.
Okay.
So I was sitting with them, and that's when it occurred to her that the way I interacted or whatever made her feel, she had put that seed in us, that in me, that you have to open. And I was very scared. I said, Didi, I'm not able to give the right upbringing. I'm not sure if I'm giving the right upbringing to my daughters, who are very young then. So, and you are telling me to look after the girls in Aurangabad? I think it's impossible. That's what I reacted. And she said, no, I've seen that you can do it. Just don't be scared. And after that, I left. And when I was in Aurangabad, after many years, we were in a party, and everyone was saying that we want to do something for the city. And God was very kind that suddenly this idea, which was, I always feel the seed, the right seeds when sown, sometime it is going to come to you at the right time. It was sprouting at that point. And I told them that I have been offered this. If all of us together want to do it, I think then it could be a dream come true.
Yeah.
And everyone unanimously around, we were 6, 7 or 8 of us, all of them said, why not? And I just picked up the phone and I gave a call to Mrs. Modi, Kiran Modi, and she said, tell me which flight should I come?
Wow.
Which next flight should I be taking
My God.
to come and inform you what I was talking about? And that was how this Udyan Shalini Fellowship, I'm having goosebumps. But I can't believe that that's how this whole thing began.
Amazing.
One trip, I wanted to meet her. I was sitting with her. Instead of going home, she called me in her Udyan Care Home, which she feels is her home. And I'm so privileged to be a part of something where now I don't feel that it's like a drop into the ocean. We are the ocean itself, I feel.
Wow.
We all don't become a part
Amazing.
of it. How is it going to be? And I'm very, very happy to be a part of this organization.
I think to make a big change, it should start with you.
That's what you exemplified.
Yeah, you exemplify that. You went there for something else, but your destiny was to come back with some different seed.
I really thank God for that. My gratitude to God, because I can't dream myself, I can't dream of something like this. It's God's dream, and God has made it, get it executed through me, and that's what I feel I'm privileged about.
It's so nice because before we do this interview the other day when we came to just discuss about this. There were so many girls who were smiling around, who were reading something and everything. It intrigued me about what was this going on. And it was so endearing to see that they are doing so well in life. And now knowing what they are doing, giving a girl a shelter, giving them a family, is like giving them a confidence that you can fly.
And
In fact, just 2 days back, because the new session is about to begin.
Okay.
I did a home visit. After, there's a certain procedure to take the girls.
Okay.
So we have an exam which is called NAT, Need, Ambition, Talent. It's based on that. We took an exam in January.
Okay.
Then after, there were around 500 girls from different government schools and colleges. The girls were there, and after that, we are around 250 girls. We take interview because those are the girls who were above a certain percentage.
Okay.
And in that, after the interview, which was taken in our USF office, we did home visits. And this was what we started doing. Around 150 girls, we are going to do the home visits.
Okay.
And out of 150, we are going to take around 110 girls.
Okay.
Because every year now we want to add 110 girls, and they pass out the next year. So then we keep a balance of around 500 girls now. We started with just 13 girls in 2008, and this is the 15th year. So now,
Wow.
3 years.
yes.
Wow.
And we were a quiet organization trying to understand ourselves and see what we are actually doing. Are we making a difference to the city or not? Are we making difference to the girls or not? And we now feel that yes, the girls, we can see they're all over the world, including there's a girl who's in America. There are girls who are working in Delhi, Bombay, Pune, and it's amazing how, we go to a bank and we see, oh my God, this is a USF girl. We go to a hospital. I went
So
to
great.
a hospital to get a checkup done, and there was a girl who was very familiar. I said, do I know you? She said, ma'am, I'm from USF. I was your girl. I said, my God. I said, no, my
Amazing.
BP is fine. I think it was low, now it's totally fine. I don't need a checkup.
Wow.
Nice.
What more can be so rewarding than this?
Yeah.
See the girls all over.
Absolutely. And as she rightly said, ma'am, it was a wonderful sight when we came inside, because normally there is one person that greets you inside somebody's home, or there are gardens or any other things. 100 of small little girls, they are coming, greeting you, and it's just plain wonderful sight. It's miraculous. So really kudos to you.
And that place is actually not what we created. It was created in the name of my father-in-law. It is called Raj Kutir. Babuji's name is Rajnarayan
Ji.
Bagla. And that place attracts positivity.
True.
That
Very
is the reason why the girls are so happy there, and we are able to do such wonderful work. Because we had dedicated that place in the name of Babuji, and he brings in that kind of energy. There are
You must be
times,
very happy.
yes.
You must be very happy.
Absolutely. Finally, now coming to his last segment, ma'am, you also have been interacting with NSBT, and you're also partly or fully engrossed into some of the initiatives. So it would be great to know from you how institutes like NSBT are changing the course of education or can change the course of education.
I would again come back to my USF girls. I have a girl who's from 11th standard, and I was asking them, what do you want to become? One of the girls said that I want to work in forensic lab. I said, in 11th standard, from a background of her kind, how did she know what is
Absolutely.
forensic lab
Absolutely.
all about? And NSBT is giving opportunity by giving cyber security classes to our girls. Can you believe that? Without any cost, which, of course, I don't think so USF would have dreamt about having such classes for them. And without us asking for them, NSBT has come forward to hold our hand and give classes to our girls. I told that girl that though they are wanting third year children, you are in 11th standard, but you can go and meet them. Because her mother was very scared. I went for a home visit. Her mother said, I don't know from where she has come up with this new thing which is called forensic. She will not do what everyone else can do. I told her, let her dream. I'm not saying I'm going to push her into that. but we are going to try. If she's capable of it, we will all see to it that she's able to do something what she dreams about.
Right,
And
right.
most of the girls, because we are wanting to do career counseling, so this is, when a child herself is looking for something like this, and there are people who are supporting us, NSBT is supporting us. So this is how I think USF is going to go ahead, because my sister has also told me this, that if you are going to move ahead, you won't need anyone's help, because God is going to see to it that people are going to come for a genuine cause. If you are genuine, people are going to, and that's how I'm going ahead, Mamta, because otherwise I didn't have the capability. If I can go ahead, I know that you can go ahead with double the speed. Because as a younger sister, she always had more confidence in me, and I have more confidence in her. So that's how
Wow.
the whole conversation started. And NSBT has been of help without asking for help. That is one of the biggest plus point of NSBT.
That's amazing. Great to hear that, ma'am. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was wonderful and very delightful talking to you today, learning about your experiences. And I'm sure they would be invaluable for next generation of students, entrepreneurs, and more to come.
Yes.
On behalf of NSBT, we would really like to thank you once again for being part of this wonderful initiative. Signing off, Rohit and Radhika. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us
Thank you so
on your
much.
podcast. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.